Okay.
I've never heard him speak.
We got 34 minutes. Isn't he 4:30?
4:20. So we got 15 minutes.
Let's go.
Yeah. All it takes 15 minutes to get the message across.
Yep.
Right? What do you want to talk about? What it is you want to do? Oh, we're live?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt. RoofCon 2023, Orange County Convention Center, Orlando, Mother Truckin', Florida, man. How the hell's everybody doing?
Doing great, brother.
Awesome. Old Kenny G got his first breakout session today. You know Kenny G?
Oh, yeah.
That's Kenny OG right there. So, Ryan, what's going on, man?
Man, just loving it. Loving life, bro.
Yeah. So you're one of the keynote speakers here.
Yes, I am.
Do you have a breakout also?
No breakout.
No breakout?
Just keynote.
Just keynote.
Just did it like 30 minutes ago.
That's a pretty big deal, man. So to be a keynote speaker here at RoofCon. So tell us a little bit about what you talked about at your breakout or your keynote speaking engagement.
Yeah, the title was Building a Team of Sales Athletes. So it's just tying in background of sports for me. Played a little bit of baseball, so mixing that in. And just really like how people develop within the sports context and how there's a pretty big gap between what you see high performing athletes in their world compared to like a roofing sales organization, and some of the key things that they could just bridge over into their world and how it can transform the organization. So I talked a bit about that. I really called out leaders. I called them out, and I want to rise them up and just help them self-reflect, because I think a lot. I mean, I'm the sales training, coaching business, so that's what we have. So we talk to people pretty often about, can't keep good sales guys or can't find them and all this stuff. And as I look and see and I just witness, it's clearly a leadership problem.
Yeah.
Right?
What are you calling them out on? Their lid of not wanting to self-improve to become a better leader? Or
absolutely. Yeah.
All the above?
So like self leadership. So the reason why they're struggling with their leadership is because their own self leadership isn't great. So really just calling them up on their intent, the way they live, the way they lead their life, the way they take care of themselves, the way they, just all the things that you need to become an attractive leader for people to want to follow you. Because managers, you have to report to the manager and you have to do what the manager says. But leaders, you follow voluntarily to follow a leader.
For sure.
You're like, I'm going where he's going.
Right.
And I think that is the key to recruiting, retaining, coaching, leading people, is that leader. And if that owner wears that hat a lot. Yes. But I think the owner has to be like that in order for the sales leader to want to come on his team in that way. Mm-hmm. So I just think that there's just so much opportunity. I use a lot of statistics to show the opportunity with salespeople, and we've evaluated about 3,000 or so salespeople over the years, and we measure selling competencies. And I was able to show how strong everybody is on average in these areas, but how weak on average everybody is in other areas. And I actually showed that 50% of salespeople, we would categorize them as weak salespeople. Basically, they could fog a mirror, get them out there. And I'm like, man, if you had 50% of your roofs fail, how would that be your business be? Like, maybe it'd be terrible. Why do we treat our sales team any differently?
Exactly.
And I think it's just something in our industry, a mindset thing. Yeah. So just kind of showing the opportunity, man, just some coaching.
Yeah. Could you give us some examples? Like, calling somebody out's one thing, but I'm sure, because unfortunately I missed your speaking engagement, but like, give us some examples of like what they should be doing to improve that. I
think the first thing is like, it sounds vain, but self-image is a big deal. Like if a leader is, he's fat, doesn't take care of his health, isn't confident, doing stuff that he wants to do, but he's not doing, the say-do ratio of his own life is low. That's obvious. So the integrity's down. I think that's big. I think also whatever relationships they have, maybe if they're married, their children, I think that people notice how they lead their families. Yeah. And that's either going to be attractive or repelling, right? Mm-hmm. And I even said, like, man, there's guys out there that your salespeople are watching you, you're married, and you're looking at other women. Yeah. And they're watching you, and they're like, oh, well, that's not good. Yeah. I think that there's just a culture, I want to just eradicate that, because that's not ideal, right? And then, and then just habits, what they choose to do. I think those are the main things. And then financially, like, yes, you want to kind of maybe have a nice truck and things like that, but living in debt or, impulse spending, those are things, because I think when sales leaders are really in their role, they're like a big brother and a mentor to the others. And it's more than just the sales skill that gets them to follow you. It's the whole thing of life, because once that happens and they know that they're following a leader that they can go to war with and they're going to level up, when they start to lean in hard on like, bro, we need to get this done, they're not going to jump ship and leave or not respond. That it's just, and I use like King Leonidas, and I had like a fun time just getting everybody to, said RoofCon, what is your profession? Had everybody do the chant, like roof, like the.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
It was fun.
I got Leonidas.
Damn it.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like basically leading by example.
Yeah.
And how you do anything is how you do everything is what was going through my mind, right?
Yeah.
I say that to myself 5 times a day, right? And that's how I hold myself accountable. Like, am I going to drive a dirty truck? Am I going to show up to work late every day? Am I going to treat my wife like shit? Am I not going to see my kids off to school? Am I not going to, which dad is going to come home tonight? You know what I mean? Like the consistency, right? Because, Baker says this all the time, is when daddy gets home, he sets the tone. We're not just at home, but at work.
Totally.
As well. You can apply that to any aspect, whether it's around your team and not just sales teams, but anybody in a leadership position or a co-leadership position, and, manager and managing people is one thing. So we call them co-leaders and teammates and stuff like that. I hate the word manager.
An employee,
just for me, and an employee sounds like a slave.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we're a team. We're in this together. Like,
100%.
like Ken's department, that's Ken's division. That's his legacy. It's one thing to say, like, I need a dream big enough for everybody else's dream to fit in. Screw that. I'm talking legacy. The legacy needs to be big enough so Ken's legacy can fit in it. And so he feels like that's his legacy and he's not walking in somebody else's shadow.
Well, like what I said in my breakout is I asked people, because I'm trying to identify the room of, because you got just regular salespeople just started off, you got some veterans, and you got sales managers, and you got owners. Like, so I'm like, how many of you guys are in a position of leadership? And like a third of them raise their hand. I said, that's bullcrap.
Everybody's
like, we're all a leader.
Yes.
And I do that with my team all the time. Like, dude, you can lead from the front, the back, the side, whatever. And it's not me giving you a title. Say, hey, okay, Ryan is y'all's leader now. Y'all go follow Ryan.
Yeah.
That's bullcrap, dude. Like, Ryan could have been a leader, as just a sales guy. Like, and because they're noticing you. If you trust me, there's 3 guys there. I talked to them before it started, and one guy had been there for 2 years, one for 1 year, and one was like a month in. And I says, you can bet your butt that even though you're not a sales manager, you've been there for 2 years, these guys are looking at you, right? So you're setting the standard, and how you go about work and you go about your business is making an impact.
Right.
There's 2 things that just from what you said and what you said, like, everybody's a leader, right? Because, and we're self-leading first, but salespeople, we're leading people to make decisions every single day. And like how you come across is everything, right? Your body language, do I want to follow this person? That's what the homeowner's saying, right? So self-leadership, then salespeople are leaders. And I love that you brought that up. But, I was listening to some coaching the other day and just getting leveled up, and they were just talking about this, like, doing what you said you're going to do and not being a fraud, not living a double standard. But he said something, this coaching call I was on, it was like, live like there was a camera on you at all times. I'm like, dang, dude, like, what am I doing? That is, if I was teaching somebody and they're looking at me, up to me for a chapter in their life, and they watch me for 2 days straight, watch what I did, what would I actually be like so embarrassed of? Or what would I just be like, that's not optimal? And I think, like, I just had to self-reflect. We all need to take inventory, man. But, like, we got one life, man. We got one shot. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And I'm just on fire for like that right now. I just want to see things. I want to see myself, and I want to see other people, use self-control and just change and for the better.
And that's a good place to be, and it's a good place to want to be, is to level yourself up. And we talked about this already, but it all starts right in here, right? With the personal growth and stuff like that. And within an organization, and I don't think a lot of it can be an entrepreneur, it can be a sales manager, it can be any leadership position that you're in. where it starts is you working on your leadership abilities. The better you get at leading people, and the more that you lean and leverage those around you because of you honing your craft of leadership, the more the organization is going to grow. And for me, I did it for so many years. I stayed in the weeds. I wasn't necessarily working on myself. Like, I was working in the business for so many years, right? And we grew. But if I would have continued down that path, like over a year or 5 year or 10 year period of time, the most that we could have grown, right? If I wouldn't have started to surround myself around good people, right? And good people don't need managed, right? Let's get that clear. They need coached, they need mentored, they need embraced and encouraged, right? They shouldn't need managed. So if you can find the right people, but once I started to do that, then I was able to take my hand off the wheel a little bit, right? And then start really self-reflecting and working on my leadership abilities. And that comes in many forms, like good health, listening to podcasts, reading books, getting plenty of sleep, hygiene. I mean, everything. Okay. Where I can start feeling good about myself, retaining stuff, and working on myself on a daily basis. And that's from the daily routines from when I wake up, what I do before I have to go into the world and be at my best, to lead by example. Right. And the more that I started to work on those things, it was so crazy. The business started to propel itself 500%. Wow. 500% in half the time, because I was working on me and my leadership skill, right? Because we're all talented to a certain extent, but it becomes a skill because it's something that we can work on, right? Because you can be born with a few natural leadership talents, but they'll also, just like Kobe or Michael Jordan, they were very talented, but if they wouldn't have worked as hard as they did and honed their craft and their skill, they wouldn't have been the greatest.
Yeah, there's a couple of things you said that is sparking a thought. The first thing is, like, there's 3 levels of leadership: self-leadership, leading others, and then building up leaders. Right? Those are the 3 levels. But what you just mentioned, we're working on skills. I talked about how there's 4 levels of skill development and skill development process. But skills are defined as this: what somebody does without having to think about it that brings value to the marketplace. Your value is in the marketplace is dependent upon the skills you already have that don't require any thinking to make them happen. Like, it's just like, oh, I just can do that. I can do that, right? You see people that effortlessly do badass stuff. It's because they have those skills, right? So I talk about 4 levels. One is unconsciously incompetent, which is like, I'm unaware that I suck at this, right? And then there's consciously incompetent, which is like, oh, no, I really know I'm not very good at this. It's like, okay, so there's those 2 phases. Those are big. And then the third one is really big, which is now conscious competence, which is when I make this a focused, concerted effort and I actually focus on it, I'm good at it. I can do it. And then after some time, when we remain in that place, then we become unconsciously competent. That's when it's a skill, right? And it's like, damn, like when you see it, when you put it that way, I just got to like find out where I'm weak, make a concerted effort, and do it until it's habitual. And then I'm effortlessly able to do it. Like, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that without thinking about it, right? I know I have a lot of skills. Some of them are natural, some of them are habitual. But I'm like, man, when I think about that, what tools do I want in my tool belt now? Like, let's think about that, right? And I think that all that kind of adds up. It's just like, how can we just be so excellent without having to think about it? Because we don't want to live a life where we're just constantly stressed, right? We want to live a life where we're in like a flow state. Well, that takes some work.
Yeah.
Well, the thing, you also like Tom Brady, somebody as great as Tom Brady in his craft. If you watch those guys when they first show up at camp in the summer, they're practicing handoffs like for 25, 30 minutes. The beginning of the Relentless book, where he's talking about Kobe being in the gym with no basketball for an hour, just doing footwork, and there's nobody else there. I mean, he's at 4 a.m. and he's out there just doing footwork with no basketball. This guy's a back-to-back league MVP, world champion. And you still have to continue to sharpen that sword, man. You can be as good as you want to be, but you still, even the greats understand, I have to keep working on it. That's why, like, our office is covered with all these self-development books. And a lot of the guys I hire in, they're like, what's your, one of the questions we ask is like, what's the books you've been reading? Like, I have never read a book since high school. And now some of my guys have read 3-4 books in the last 4 or 5 months, and they're like on fire, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and so I just keep like the books that you mentioned on stage. I ordered them on Audible while you were on stage.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I hope Ryan don't see me looking at my phone because I was ordering the books. I wasn't like ripping off.
I saw you, bro.
I figured. So yeah, man, you have to keep working at it, man. And that's the big thing is making people understand that. Like, just because you got there on the mountaintop don't mean that you're going to stay there. You got to keep coming.
For sure.
Keep sharp.
You got to keep pushing, man, for sure. And I liked what you were kind of sort of insinuating, like, you know, Brady and Kobe, they go back to the basics.
Yep.
Right. And a lot of times, and this could definitely be a topic of discussion that somebody would probably push back on. But in some situations or instances, if you don't leave the basics, you don't have to go back to them. Right. Or you don't forget, like just basic handoffs and things like that, or certain things that we do in our lives, whether it was just dropping to our knees every morning. And, you know, that's the basics. If I don't leave those basics, I don't ever have to go back to them. If I don't ever push God out of my life, I don't ever have to go seek him again. And I'm not I'm not a Bible bumper by no means, but I'm just trying to come up with an example. Yeah. But something else that I was thinking about when both of you were talking is vulnerability of a leader and identifying your weaknesses and raising your hand and asking for help. Right. And doing that around your team is a great way of developing trust so you can have followers. Right. Because they know they can trust you. They know your strengths. They know you're weak in this area. Right. And that's the thing, too, is being able to become a good delegator. I'm not so good at this. So why am I going to spend 10, 12 hours a day trying to figure out how to create a website when I'm not a website graphic designer? When I just need to hire someone that does this every single day, that's going to do a lot better job than me and get it done in an hour and instead of 12 days. Right. And let them know, like, and give them the props, like, great job at what you did. And I think that plays a huge role in being a good leader or steward, right? Of stewarding your people and not setting them up and putting them in positions for failure, but putting them in positions to succeed as well is another good trait that somebody in a leadership position should also acquire. And ego, because ego and fear gets in the way. It's like, I know all the answers. I got everything. I'm the toughest guy on the podium right now. You're not probably going to have too many people following you. You're going to turn around and look around and realize that no one's following you at this point in time. If you're a hard head, and believe me, I've managed people, right? And I've been the boss in instances, and things didn't go over so well. That's where my life, I wasn't flowing at that point in time. It was like everything was a constant battle. Everything was a constant struggle because I was struggling with myself mentally.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I was insecure, because I didn't want you to know that I was an idiot.
Right.
You know what I mean? But meanwhile, I was looking like I was the most ignorant person in the room because I was afraid to answer my hand. The dumbest guy in the room is the guy not raising his hand.
You know what's cool is, like, I met you at a Revolt retreat, and I know you've been part of Revolt, kind of been in that thing. When everybody walks in the door at that free retreat, where there's guys from 25, 30 guys from all over the country, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody, I mean, in this industry, you got a bunch of type A, like alpha dogs, and everybody walks in, they're just all bucked up. By the end of that first night, when we're at the fireside chat, like, to see everybody broke down in a very common theme is, man, I just don't want everybody to see that I'm like, don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, and the opposition of what came out in the morning and what ended up at the end of the night is like unbelievable. And when you see that so many times, you realize whether they show that or not out here on this floor doing what they're doing, that's part of everybody's journey, right? And to kind of have that uncovered and see that and expose yourself, man, there's so much growth that happens when you're able to get to that. So.
Most definitely. Great topic. Great discussion. What time is it? It's 4:16.
You should go.
Do you want to close this out with something? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, just check me out on Instagram, The Sales Athlete. Look me up, Ryan Groth, on LinkedIn and Facebook. You message me there.
You hold a conference too, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of events a year. So we'll do a Roof Warrior event in the beginning of March in Tyler, Texas. And then that'll be a sales training and coaching. It'll be a great event for residential roofers. So bring your team out. And then we have a big conference every fall called the Transform Conference. So that's like, a bit more leadership, self-development, kind of all trades, salespeople, sales leaders, owners. It's a lot of fun, man. we get after it.
I
So
love it.
yeah.
I love it. I love your content. I love what
Thank
you're
you.
about, Ryan. Thank you for coming on, Kenny.
Yeah, appreciate
Always
it.
a pleasure.
Thanks.
You know that.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, everybody, for tuning in. Ryan Groth, Ken Yance, man. See you guys in